Hi there folks, Phoenix Aurelius here. Today we're chatting about the SE-5 and some of the capacities that the SE-5 has. So when you order an SE-5, you get everything that is contained inside of this nice, easy to unpack box. Everything is nice and organized and in its place. It's very easy to use. You can take this with you just about anywhere, just as long as you have a little bit of disk space, or desk space rather. And you can set up shop and begin performing IDF analysis and investigation, as well as sending broadcasts. This analysis unit is capable of all of those things: analysis, investigation, and broadcast capacity. It comes standard with the IDF legacy software, which is software that's been around since the late 90s, or mid to late 90s I should say, and it still works great. There's a lot of functionality there. It also comes with all of the training on here, but the things that you're going to be able to do is use this in standalone mode in order to be able to analyze for various different imbalances, intrinsic data field imbalances, or the structure and function of various intrinsic data fields that correspond to various physical structures in a variety of organisms, whether you're working with animals or soil or microbes or people or whatever. You can influence IDFs utilizing this type of instrumentation. You can also analyze them, so that's really great. And you can perform investigation. Now, not everybody is suited to doing investigations. As you know, some people will be better suited for analysis. Some people just use as broadcasts, complicated broadcasts, instrumentation, put broadcasts together and to charge IDF talismans and other things. Some people will be very suited towards doing investigations, maybe finding missing people and things like that. It really depends on the individual, their background, their talents, their inherent interests, their psychic capacity, all sorts of different types of things. So not every SE-5 user is going to be well suited to absolutely every type of thing that the SE-5 is capable of doing. But all of these things and more are definitely available utilizing the SE-5 equipment. Some of the reasons why we would want to be able to use this is if we're performing research. Oftentimes, chemical research, for instance, can be extremely expensive and cost prohibitive for a large number of different companies, especially companies that are just trying to get an idea of what might be in something or the mechanisms by which something might work, and don't necessarily need a third-party certificate of analysis for whatever it is that they're analyzing. So with these instruments, we have the opportunity to search for various chemicals, phytochemicals, minerals, metals, the presence of various enzymes, microbes, etc., that could be in any of our samples, especially if we're working with soil or plants or various ores or whatever else. We can utilize the instrument for that. We can also use the instrument to analyze for a wide number of different physiological complaints. Now, it's important to notice that we are not, within Aurelian philosophy, cosmology, medicine, etc., advocating that this is used to diagnose, treat, prevent, or cure any disease or illness. That is explicitly against the rules of what you can use this for. But what you can use this for are for investigations and analysis into whether the intrinsic data fields corresponding to those aspects of the physical body or whatever else are out of balance, and then we can perform research by trying to balance those fields and just seeing if there is any sort of result in the corresponding physical or astral field that corresponds to that intrinsic data field. So they are great analysis and research instruments for a wide number of different industries. They are also absolutely fantastic, like I said, for certain individuals in performing investigations, whether those investigations are trying to find missing things or missing people, missing pets, missing anything, or whether they are to try and find things that are of a more subtle nature that can't necessarily be seen by the naked eye, or even things that could be seen in the naked eye but might be in a very hidden location. Like, for instance, you might be trying to find a particular tree that you wandered to on a hiking path one time, but you can't remember where the entrance to that hiking path really was. With SE-5, with investigative capacity, you might be able to actually find where that tree is by performing an investigation using, say, your scanning laser pen on a map to be able to find the approximate location or even precise GPS location, depending on how far you can zoom in on a map, to find where that thing might be. You can also utilize this to program and balance and send balancing things to things like the scalar balance wristbands or to IDF holograms, to pieces of jewelry, to gemstones, to crystals, etc. So like one of the low-hanging fruit of being able to use this, especially if you are already in the realm of kind of metaphysical healing, is reach out to a lot of the Reiki healers and or crystal healers that might be in the area and show before and after data of you taking their crystals and what their general vitality, physical, astral, etheric, causal, and spiritual vitality levels are before clearing and balancing those crystals, and then show what they do after you just clear and balance them. That's just clearing and balancing. So many users of those tools are doing things, including myself in the past. I've been training crystal healing and Reiki and all these other things too, and oftentimes we'll use tools that we think that we're cleaning, either with incense or by putting certain crystals in salt water or leaving them out in the moon and charging them, doing all these other things. And when we test those in comparison to how we can actually cleanse them with the SE-5, the differences are like night and day. And so when you show folks that data, the data oftentimes speaks for itself. And if they're energetically sensitive to any remote degree, they'll be able to feel the differences in their crystals as well. And so we oftentimes suggest, doing it for 1 or 2 different types of crystals for the individual and providing some data for them so that they can see before and after data and can also feel the difference for themselves, and seeing if they want to be put maybe on a weekly plan or a monthly plan for them to bring their crystals to you and to be able to balance and clear them at the very least. For some of the more specific crystals like Vogel healing wands or other different types of things, you can of course imprint those with various tunings, including imprinting those with the tunings of their Reiki symbols or their symbols of power or whatever else that they might feel most drawn and attuned to. Really, the options are pretty limitless. So there's a lot of different types of things that can be done. Analyzing soil samples, analyzing water samples, assisting soil and soil bacteria and microbes, eliminating toxin IDFs, and all sorts of other different types of things can all be done by utilizing this bit of instrumentation. Really, it is, when we talk about radionics or psionics or psychotronic or IDF instruments just in general, they can be likened to musical instruments, and where some of them might be, say, a guitar or a saxophone or a violin or something like that. The SE-5 is basically like a complete synthesizer that can make the sound and play the music of any and all instruments and multiple instruments at a time, really, so that it has a very, very unlimited capacity, and the type of music that you play can span many, 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 many different genres because of that functionality. And that's why we have chosen to utilize the SE-5 2000 over here for our purposes at the Research Academy, and why we stand behind it as probably the best and most functional unit that exists worldwide that we've been exposed to at the present time. Along with the functionality of the software, both the legacy software as well as the pro software, there are a lot of unique capabilities that a person can have as an IDF analyst or an IDF investigator, an IDF researcher, that allows you functionality that you don't get out of other different types of quantum scalar instruments, IDF instruments, etc. So, in my opinion, even though it is a significant price point for this purchase, it is also a tool that is very, very usable and very efficacious and very functional, and actually a very low price point in comparison to many other different forms of analytical methods that are available today to the wide variety of people who could be using them for analysis and research purposes. So we love the SE-5 over here. If you love it too, be sure to let us know. And if you are interested in purchasing one, just remember that you have to schedule a consultation with me so that I can pre-qualify you to actually purchase it and make sure that it's going to be a glass slipper fit for you, because we don't want to have any sort of undesirable experiences in folks who purchase them, especially because they're at such a high price point. So we'll make sure that if you're destined to have one and if you're meant to have one, that we'll get one in your hands.